When deciding on a second residency, the wrong decision can be costly, and unfortunately, people often pick countries for the wrong reasons. Over 70% of global expats actually say that lifestyle, safety, and infrastructure are their primary concerns more than living costs or taxes. This pretty much explains why you always find countries like Denmark and the Netherlands at the very top of best lifestyle lists. Sure, they do have high living standards, but they also do have high living costs, high taxes, and huge amount of red tape, which of course we are not a very big fan of here at Millionaire Migrant. In this video, we are going to take a slightly different approach by comparing two very different yet equally popular jurisdictions to better explain the factors that you need to consider when choosing a new residency. Our first contestant is Portugal, an EU member state that's popular with everyone, from young digital nomads to retirees, and which is still Europe's most popular golden visa destination, despite of all the delays and proposed citizenship bill. On the other side, we have Singapore, one of the biggest financial hubs in Asia. It's tax efficient, business friendly, extremely fast-paced, and considerably more meritocratic than Europe. Definitely no delays over there. In a way, it's like comparing a family SUV with a twin-seat sports car. Except having a sports car in Singapore is the last thing you want. But I'll get to that in a bit. First, let's go through 7 things you need to consider for your second residency. We have cost of living and taxes. We have healthcare and education. We have transportation and infrastructure, safety and security, language and culture, the business environment, and lastly, the climate. Now, from a practical point of view, the cost of living is your starting point and includes general day-to-day expenses like housing, utilities, groceries, fuel, and others. Some countries are affordable in some ways, expensive in others. Like, for example, Greece, where housing is affordable compared to other European countries, but groceries and restaurants are more expensive. Well, in Portugal, it's the other way around, but it's still very affordable, especially when you compare it to Singapore, where average rents are 180% higher. But then we have taxes, because some countries can have low cost of living, but still have high taxes. This is why Greece, Spain, and Portugal are popular with retirees and digital nomads who get more value, but entrepreneurs prefer Singapore because of its territorial tax system and lower tax rates. It's also why high net worth individuals in Europe, like for example Monaco, which has 0 taxes, but living costs are extremely high for foreigners, which limits its appeal to the very wealthy. In this round, Portugal wins, but it wins by a narrow margin. It's more affordable, and its NHR 2.0 offers tax savings with a 20% flat tax for 10 years. However, we would still prefer to have the old NHR tax regime back, please. Other practical considerations are, for example, healthcare and education. Healthcare is especially important for Americans who move abroad for better coverage. The countries we tend to talk about the most on Millionaire Migrant, like Malta, Portugal, Singapore, they all score in the top 25 for healthcare globally. Portugal offers quality care to European standards, where you can opt for free coverage, which is funded by the taxpayer, or go private, which is generally faster and more comprehensive. Singapore's system is notably different and a little more expensive, but also more advanced and efficient, meaning shorter wait times. Healthcare is often the priority for seniors, while young families or those who are looking to start a family are more concerned with the education. On academic note, Singapore wins this round. It's number 1 in the world for math and one of the top performing countries overall. So if STEM-related success is a priority, give your child a Singaporean education. On the other hand, though, if you believe experience, culture, and personal development are more important than grades, Portugal offers a more rounded, Western education with an emphasis on social interaction, extracurricular activities, and soft skills. Now, here's why a city's transportation system is much more important than you might think. Singapore's public transport consistently ranks among the best in the world. In private transportation terms, it's the worst. Because of its limited space, Singapore's government operates a special quota system limiting the amount of the cars. This makes it 4 to 6 times more expensive to own a car in Singapore than in some Western countries. For many, this extra hassle is a deal breaker. Portugal's public transport is of an EU standard, and Lisbon's tram system is, of course, iconic. Its highway networks are also top tier, and it's cheap to have a car there. Plus, with Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve, all that beautiful coastlines, not to mention Spain is just a couple of hours over the border. You couldn't really ask for a better place for planning road trips. As for the infrastructure, Portugal has some of the fastest internet speeds in Europe, which is ideal for digital nomads, but Singapore still pretty much takes the lead here. So your new residency is stable, with solid institutions and trustworthy banks. But how safe do you feel walking the streets? If you're in Singapore, the answer is very safe. That is, of course, unless you're a criminal. Put simply, crime is rare because the punishments are harsh. Singapore is all about law and stability, which makes it a paradox. There is a lot of state control, but it's also a free market economy. And it's open to everyone, east, west, wherever, because Singapore doesn't pick sides. Contrast with Portugal, which is a traditional European democracy with a more liberal approach to crime, though still one of the safest countries in Europe today. As a member of both the European Union and NATO, Portugal is quite stable, but certainly not neutral, especially not as Singapore. Taking off the practical stuff is important, but you also need to feel like you fit in. A country might be nice for travel or for business, but if you don't fit the culture, you'll never really feel at home there. Singapore has the advantage of using English as one of its 4 official languages. Its culture is a melting pot of British and Asian influences, mixing individual achievement with collective responsibility. The standard of English in Portugal is better than most European countries, so you can mostly get by without speaking Portuguese. Learning the language, though, will help you integrate better, and it's also a very important step in obtaining citizenship in Portugal. Some of my colleagues here at Millionaire Migrant are Portuguese residents, and they absolutely love it there. They say it's less shiny than Singapore and feels more cozy and lived in, with obviously much older architecture. Its Mediterranean culture means it's more open and expressive and quite family-oriented, but runs at a much slower pace. While Singapore is technocratic, Portugal is more bureaucratic. So you have more personal freedom than Singapore, but the government will put much more regulations on your business. So from a business perspective, Singapore is a no-brainer. The location, the business-friendly government, quality banking, plus a corporate tax of 17%. Portugal is a more popular lifestyle destination, but with its European-style regulation, a Mediterranean-based bureaucracy, it can't match Singapore. Portugal does aim to reduce its corporate tax rate from 19% to 17% by 2028. So in theory, it should soon have the same rate as Singapore. In practice, though, you also have an additional municipal tax of up to 1.5% and a third state tax, which rises to 9% for incomes over 35 million euros. Taxes, on top of taxes, on top of taxes. And if all this sounds complicated, welcome to Europe. So that's the business climate. But what about the actual climate? Well, unless you're from somewhere like Winnipeg, where any new climate is an improvement, you will want to find that Goldilocks zone, someplace that's not too hot, not too cold, just right. Singapore is hot and densely packed, with temperatures from between 23 to 33 degrees Celsius and an average humidity of around 82%. So without air conditioning, it's a nightmare. Portugal, though, different story. It's popular with expats and retirees because it's generally warm year-round. But the long Atlantic coastline means that summers don't get too hot like its Spanish neighbor, giving Portugal that perfect, just right climate. So, which one would you choose? A fast-paced melting pot built for high achievers, or a warm and breezy Mediterranean lifestyle that's rich in culture and experience? The beauty of global mobility is that you don't always have to choose. It's possible you might love doing business in Singapore, but much prefer living somewhere nearby like Malaysia, where the pace is more chilled. Or, for example, similar to Jeremy, who has Portuguese residency but also has commercial operations here in the UAE. This affords him the lifestyle advantages of one country plus the tax benefits of another, which pretty much makes sense, right? Well, yes, but only if you do it correctly. Getting it wrong can be costly in so many ways, but with the right advice, you will find opportunities and benefits you never thought possible, not to mention huge tax savings. At Millionaire Migrant, we have processed more than 15 Singapore clients, a huge number of Portugal clients, over 500 and counting, more than 100 Malta clients, and more than 200 golden visas for the UAE. If you want to know where to get the best value and living standards while also reducing your taxes, book your Millionaire Migrant Blueprint Strategy call today.